Hello, everybody. Welcome to Houdini Hangout. We're at the end of August here. My name's Peter. Thank you so much for joining us on the stream this evening. Hopefully, we've got some fun stuff that we're going to get up to and mess around with. But yeah, just thanks for being here. Thanks for joining. We've got a couple weeks here coming up until we have a big event up in Toronto. Even if you're not able to make it for that, there should be a lot of really cool content coming out of that. So hopefully everybody's excited for that event coming soon. And I'll be up in Toronto with some of the other folks there, helping with some teaching assistant for some workshops and things like that. Luckily, I don't have to teach any of them, but I will be able to, help out where I can. So yeah, we've got a big event coming up, and I think it should be really cool. There'll be some talks from the different developers of some of the different solvers and, Solaris devs and, all sorts of different people will be there talking about what's coming up and new and things like that. Should be good. Should be exciting. Obviously, we just had a release not too long ago, so we'll be talking about some of those new tools as well. Just talking about a lot of neat stuff. So it should be really exciting. But yeah, so if you're up in the Toronto area, hopefully you have signed up or can sign up or think about signing up, I guess. But it should be pretty fun. So yeah, that's one of the big things coming up soon that we've all been kind of internally getting ready for. I get to meet some people on my team I haven't met before, which is really exciting, and see some people from overseas that I haven't seen in over a year now. So should be pretty cool from that standpoint and from that side of things. So hopefully some of you will see you up there. But for those of you who can't and are here tonight or watching this after the fact, let's talk about some MPM stuff today. So the plan is to mess around with some MPM, see what we can get into, see how much we can abuse, maybe a couple test geometries here and there, and we'll see what kind of nonsense we can get up to. I really enjoyed getting to talk to Alexander, who is the main developer for the MPM tools. And got to talk to him a bit at SIGGRAPH, and that was really fun. And so we got to chat a bit, and so he's been a great help to our team. Our intern is actually putting together a whole course on MPM, and that's been really great. He's been super helpful with that. But yeah, so it's just been it's a cool tool set. There's some really interesting things in there, and hopefully we can kind of play around with it and see what we can kind of get up to, and see what types of effects and elements and things like that we can kind of pull out of this tool set. So hey, Fotis, welcome to the stream. So if you've never messed with MPM before, great. Please drop any questions in the chat that you might think of, or anything that you might have any ideas about. Hey, Shafiq, welcome. Shafiq is one of our wonderful interns on the education team. So nice to see you here tonight. Hello. So yeah, if you've never touched it before, please ask questions, all that stuff. I'm always encouraging people to do that, just because, if you have the question, probably somebody else does as well. And if you've already played around with MPM and you have some thoughts or have some ideas about what's going on, or see me doing something dumb, just feel free to drop that in the chat. If I'm struggling with it, obviously other people might struggle with it too. So always good to give some feedback and correction and other thoughts, and just in general, if you have questions or comments or ideas about what you have been struggling with in MPM, or what you've been struggling with conceptually with some different things, like just feel free to drop that in the chat. I have a question there, but I'm not sure what the answer is, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, just like always, if you have any questions or thoughts or anything like that, always feel free to put those in the chat. want this to be kind of a two-way conversation here, not just me talking at you, but you being able to ask questions, chat back, give your thoughts, give your suggestions, things like that. So this is certainly not, just me giving you the, hey, this is the only way to do NPM. I'm just going to be kind of playing around with it and doing some different things that are on my mind that I want to kind of think about and mess with. So maybe you have some ideas and you want to mess with some stuff and you've got some thoughts that you've been struggling with, feel free, drop them in the chat. We can always all learn from each other. So that's always my disclaimer. And don't feel scared to put something in the chat. There's no dumb questions here. I'm not going to ridicule you or anything like that. And if anybody else does, they're out of here. Turn this car right back around. So Fotis in the chat was asking, may I ask why the NPM masterclass uploaded only on Vimeo and not on YouTube? That's a good question. My guess is that it's just a kind of a nature of maybe where they were putting it on the website. I know a lot of times when they upload stuff to Vimeo, they pull that to certain parts of the website that embed that. And so my guess is just knowing maybe where they wanted that to live was why they uploaded it to Vimeo. I'm not sure why they wouldn't upload it to YouTube as well. But I don't really have anything to do with that. So I'm not sure the answers, but there you go. Alexandru, I like your comment there. He said, I hate the NPM timing, meaning when it got released. I just finished a shot of a cake being cut and moved around. Had to do it in Vellum grains and glue constraints. Week later, 20.5 release with NPM pancake recipe. Yeah, that's always how it goes, right? I've definitely done some stuff before, where I've had, what was I doing the one time? I was doing some thread stuff and had to do all of the like the yarn being like spun out of different threads and all that stuff, like from scratch by hand, and then like recently I've seen stuff where it's like there's people that have put out whole tool sets of like yarns and things like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that would have saved me like weeks and weeks of time, but hey, that's how you learn. So yeah, it's always funny. Everything's always like that. The timing, you're like, man, if I only had that a week earlier. But cool. Great to have you here, Alexandru. And maybe you'll kind of get to see some of the differences between the way that Vellum works and the way that NPM works. Because there's a significant difference there. It's a similar idea, but it is different. So anyways, let's take this and kind of just jump in and see what we can get up to here. So if you saw my post online earlier today on one of the social media channels that you might frequent, whether that be Twitter, I won't call it the other name, or whether it was Discord or whatever, maybe LinkedIn even. I had a little demo of like a pig head on there kind of getting torn apart. And so that's what I want to set up first and kind of play around with that and talk a little bit about what I did there. Because I just kind of threw that together just as like an idea of like, how would this work? And then it did. And I was like, okay, cool. This should work. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, you started watching the masterclass. That's great. The Alexander's masterclass is going to be probably way better than what I'm going to be able to do, but hey, I might as well cover it here. And if you want to dive way deeper into it, feel free. I mean, that's the reason that the masterclasses exist. But yeah, I have some ideas here and we'll play around with them, see what we can get up to and go from there. So, okay, I don't need to mess with my volume. All right, let's add a geo node. What just happened there? What is going on here? So, that is really weird. I am... Yes, I am an object. That is really weird. All right. That is really weird. I'm just going to quit this and just reopen it real quick here. So let me do that. Sorry about that. Not sure what the deal is there. Very odd. But I don't work on this computer every day, and that stupid error comes up every time I'm ready to do this stream, and I'm like, darn it. Gotta look for it. I think there's a path variable in my or a path thing in my environment variables that's messing it up, and it keeps doing that. So anyway. All right. There we go. That was really strange. I don't know what that was all about, but I got some sort of strange error there. I have a couple other things running too, so it could have been something else messing with it. Anyways, all right, so let's get in here. So let's do MPM pig head. Cool. And let's jump inside here. We'll grab the pig like usual. And all right, so let's grab him. We'll raise him up a little bit on the y-axis. And I'm going to fracture him up. We'll kind of see what we get into here. So points, oops, sorry. Points from volume. We'll use that for our pieces here. Let's say we do 0.25. Let's do jitter scale of, I don't know, 2. Really jitter that up, I guess. And then let's do a Voronoi fracture. And we'll grab this one, grab that one. Ah, that's interesting. I thought that would work. All right, so we've got our Voronoi fracture here. There's our pieces. Maybe we'll do this a little bigger, maybe. It's a little too big. Let's see, 4. Let's try 3.5. Something like that. Okay, cool. So we've got our pieces here. That's great. And what I want to do is I want to have these, this have like random, velocity in their different directions. So let's see here. I'm going to add in a point velocity. Let's see, keep incoming, conical noise, seed attribute. Okay, great. So I am going to attribute promote the primitive value of the name to point. See if that will give me, add some conical noise in here. I am going to check on the velocity there. Okay, cool. I want each of these pieces to be going in the same direction. So let's grab a seed attribute here. And I think, can I put in name? That's not going to work. Okay, that's fine. So let's do this instead. So we've got our, let's enumerate here. And we'll enumerate this, pull up my geometry spreadsheet, and let's enumerate this as a point attribute. We'll give it an index. We'll base it on the piece, the name, and we'll enumerate the pieces. And now we have an index for each piece, so that should work. The point velocity must need an integer attribute. So let's see here. We'll do index, and there we go. So now we've got each of those pieces with a random velocity in that direction, so we know that that whole piece is going to kind of get thrown in those general directions. And if we stretch this out a little bit like that, maybe we do 65. That looks good. We can get these all being in their, kind of going in their own direction. So the reason I'm doing that is just so that we have a consistent velocity over each of those pieces, right? And so that should really help us out there. Let me see here. Can we do attribute adjust vector? And let's see. Can we do just length only? Just out of curiosity. Do random. And do it based on index. Can we do that? Yeah, it looks like we can. Cool. All right. I was kind of thinking about that as I was saying this here. So the nice thing there is we can adjust the, the amount of velocity that we're going to add in here. So we can have some that'll be really big, others that'll be very small. Oh, you know what? I'm going to actually set this to multiply. Then if we do it this way, this should be good. So we'll do 0.25 and maybe 2. There we go. Not add, we'll do multiply. There we go. So this is only going to adjust the length. And if we look at this, we go from very even to, to a lot longer, some of them, some shorter, things like that. So that should vary it up a bit for us. And so now we've got these pieces. Let's turn off that visualization so we can check that off. We have our name, we can keep that on. And let's throw down an MPM source. And this will error because we also need an MPM container. So we'll use that. Drag this into there for the container. So now this container is driving the source, and we can kind of look at this and see, see what it is that we're kind of working with here. So we have a few things here. Let's bring those attributes in. So we can attribute transfer those in, and now we can see, because we still have our visualizer on, those things are being transferred over, and we're seeing our source, our index, and then let's see what else is being brought in. Probably velocity as well, I think. Let's just double check here. Should have our velocity coming in, no problem. Yep, looks right. Cool. Okay, so we have our different chunks here. And if we take that and we do an MPM solver, and then we grab this, throw that in there, and then throw that in there. And there we go. Excuse me. Yeah, Shafiq was just asking, can I explain a bit more about the Enumerate SOP? Sure. Let's take a look at what that specifically does. So, so when you have geometry like this, like pieces or something that you want to have a unique integer attribute over, Enumerate's really good for that. Now it can do other things as well. It can also do a string value, and you can see here that it's now doing the exact same thing. And it's not copying this attribute. It's actually rebuilding it based on this. So we could say pig chunk like this. If I can type, there we go. So now we have pig chunk 0, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so what it's doing is it's looking at, so we have our group type points. It doesn't really matter for this. We're not doing any group selection. The pieces that we're going to be evaluating are using the name attribute. So each unique named attribute is going to have an enumerated value from it. And the attribute's called index in this case. You can have it output ID, you could change that to ID, but the nice thing about this is that it's not going to write an ID attribute that could then possibly mess up your simulations or something like that if you needed something with the actual ID attribute. So this is kind of a safer, but still an index type value that you can use. So here we're making the attribute index and we're enumerating over the pieces. We're outputting an integer attribute. We could also output a string attribute like I was before, and that would output the integer value just at the end of this prefix string. So it's very similar, but it's just a slightly different way of doing it. So really this piece value here that's being created is very similar conceptually to how this is working. Oh, and actually that's right. I think if you change this between points and primitives and things like that, you're going to get the attribute output on different levels. I think that's actually what that does. So sorry. But anyways, that's kind of the idea of the Enumerate SOP, and it's really helpful for a lot of different instances like this where you might have an attribute like name, but you actually need just a number or something like that. and it might not always be like P0 blah blah blah. It could be some random digit, string, number, whatever. And this, for each different variation of that value, or of that attribute's value, it would output a number for you. So that's the idea with the Enumerate SOP. It's really, really handy. I use it quite often, especially like if I just want to put an ID on something, drop that down, you got an ID for points or whatever. So yeah, and then I'm just using that in these different places here as a seed. So cool. All right, let's come down here. We've got our simulation. We got a ground plane. We should have some initial velocity here. How high did I set this to? Yeah, it's not super high. Let's set this to maybe 5. I feel like that's going to be a little closer to what we want. And then we'll see what happens here. We'll let the OpenCL run. I don't know if I've actually mentioned this to anybody or ever on the stream, I guess I should say, but I've actually given up caffeinated coffee, which is a weird thing. Yeah, you're welcome, Shafiq. No problem. But I've been enjoying these really nice tea chinos, they're called. They're really good. So if you like coffee but don't want to deal with the caffeine or, acidity levels of coffee, tea chino, man, really good. Lots of fun flavors and things like that. Okay, that's interesting. We have it all moving in the same direction. Did I not? That was kind of funny. It just went. Oh, let's see here. Let's see. My velocities are all going in the same direction. So I did something wrong here. Oh, that's why. My string changed. Let's change it back to an integer. There we go. Now we're good. That's why. User error. All right, let's see what happens here. This is probably actually too fast, but let's see. Yeah, there we go. Getting some nice little separation. Actually, quite a bit nicer than what I even did on the on my little preview there. Cool. That's separating quite nicely. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Maybe we'll cut this in half and just see kind of where that gets us. No, let's go a little further. We'll say 4. Cool. Okay, so we've got these different pieces that are all getting kind of pulled in their own unique direction, right? But within the context of the whole, they're still they're not really staying together at all, which makes sense. Like that's not really the way that MPM works. At least by default, it kind of treats us all as a uniform texture, and especially in the default, I think it's just in like a dirt or snow or something like that. So let me just go in here. I'm just going to make the background dark gray, just maybe so you can see it a little better. Hopefully that'll be a little bit clearer. Then we can just see that. Cool. All right, so let me just see what our presets are here, because I didn't really even look at this. All right, so our material preset is snow. I think what we're going to do is go for soil and take a look at this now. This will have to, oh no, didn't even have to update. Great. So there we go. This was what I was playing with earlier. So, they're going to be similar models and things like that. And if we turn this off, we'll get back to this sort of, white shaded spheres that we can work with. Let me turn the real-time toggle on so that we're not running into anything too crazy here. But yeah, you can see it's sticking together okay. But we can do some stuff to kind of make this behave a little more interestingly. So some of the things that you'll notice is like the stiffness here. So like if we went from 5 to like, let's just go up to 10 on this, even though that's, that's not quite going up a whole one of these, but it's like half of that, I guess, basically. So let's take a look at what this will do. So now we should have a little bit more stiffness in the actual material and should stay together a little bit better. Let's go from 5 here. Actually, let's do 20 and just see where that gets us. So these should stay together quite a bit more in chunks. And that's kind of cool. We'll have a little bit more solid mass. But maybe that's not exactly what you're looking for. You know, there's like, you know, the problem, I think, if you just rely on just the stiffness, is that you could run into, you know, it could get way too stiff, right? It could get almost like too rigid or whatever. So if we go back here, I think this was at 5 originally. And then let's just go a full step up and take a look at that. It's going to slow down quite a bit. Just remember that as you increase the stiffness on the properties of these materials that we're starting with, the solver is actually going to be smart enough to know what amount of substeps it needs, MPM substeps, that is. So if we look at the MPM solver here and we click on this, I'll just pin this. We'll just kind of slide this down to the bottom here. It's like kind of a smaller, you can see here we've got substep counts. And as we change the MPM source here, if we go down to 100,000, we'll see that this is only at 45. So it's quite a bit lower. And so the more stiff a material is, the more substeps you need so that your impulses that hit on a surface or collide with the surface will actually travel through the entire surface in a substep instead of, or more, you know, within the frames that you're solving for. So it needs to be able to do that to be able to keep its cohesion as like a solid, basically. So there we go. That's with the low. Then if we go way crazier here, we'll see what this looks like and see a little glimpse of this. All right, so let's let that go a little bit more. Obviously, we're way higher substeps. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, and you can see you're starting to like kind of add a little bit of almost just jiggle and stuff into it because it's getting so much more stiff from that standpoint. So let's play this again here. Yeah, it's not too bad, but it is jiggling a little bit. So let's go back to this. Let's maybe set this to 20. That's only 4 times the amount of stiffness. And what I'm going to play with, what I was kind of playing around with next was these critical stretch and critical compression. And I believe what this is going to do is, it's kind of hard because I think these are very kind of mathematical kind of concepts that don't always very practically show in the real world examples kind of that we're working with here. But the way I was kind of thinking of this was, when you're stretching something, at what point is it going to kind of break or deform? And when you're compressing something, at what point is it going to kind of deform itself, right? That was kind of how I was looking at these values. So for example, if we change the critical stretch down to like 5 or something like that, it should break apart quite a bit more easily. So we'll look at this. In fact, let's go even further with it. So by default, let's just remember kind of where this was at. So they were staying together fairly well. You know, nothing too crazy, but they're kind of clumping a little bit. And if we come back here and say, bring this down to 0.25, we will see that this is going to allow it to break apart much easier into smaller, you know, really almost into particles. I mean, it's smaller chunks, but you can see how much easier this was for those forces that we've put in there, those kind of varying forces to break this apart. So that was kind of how I was thinking about it from that standpoint. So that makes it easier. But really what we kind of want to do is we can sort of use these pieces, since they're traveling in different directions, we're creating these kind of shear forces between them, and like forces where they're trying to pull apart at varying directions. Each of those colored masses are all have an imparted velocity in the same direction. So if we push these pieces in different ways, we should be able to induce tearing more easily at those borders using this critical stretch threshold. So, oops, let's go back and see how this goes here. So now we're going to see that these pieces are staying together quite a bit more than they were previously. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't bend or stretch or deform. It's kind of not what we're exactly looking for here. But if we look at this compared to what we had previously, it's much more confined in its deformation to those areas between the boundaries. Now, the really nice thing about MPM, if we look at it here, is that, okay, so let's just look at this back section here. And what might actually be easier to do here is let's do this. Let's grab a sphere and a copy to points. Put these together. I think this needs to be, let's just do this as a polygon. That's fine. And we actually are going to need to set the scale on this because I'm going to do something a little bit interesting here. So I think this scale, I can't remember what the scale of these particles are. Let's see. Oh, let's just unpin this and look like a dummy. Okay. The P scale is 0.025. Cool. So we'll do that here. And then if we look at these, cool. And let's pack an instance. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, you did something really dumb here because those are actually really, really tiny now. I would say, yes, you may be right. But what I'm going to actually do as well is I'm going to output something that's really handy here, which is called the Deformation Gradient. And this is a super handy thing that will allow for us to actually have 3x3 transform matrix for free from our solve. You can see here that this is all now solving and has all these orientations basically on it. So we're going to use that, the deformation gradient. We're just going to do an attribute rename here from, turn that one off. It's not cooked yet. Yeah, I know. We'll turn that off. And then we will do from F to transform. There we go. And now we have this. Cool. So hey Graham, how's it going? Nice to have you. Hope things are going well down in the Keys, the Florida Keys. Great. Let's see. This looks pretty good. I just want to double check that this is feeling about the same as what we had here. That is really weird. Why is that? Okay, that's really weird. I'm also just going to attribute delete. I think I'm going to remove the P scale on this because it doesn't seem to be doing what I want it to. That's weird. All right, let's just do this, give it a little more scale. Okay, cool. So, and then what we can also do is color these, and we're going to color these random from attribute. We'll grab the, you can use whatever. We'll use the name just so we can see these pieces. And now we should be able to maybe look at this a little bit more easily here. So the cool thing about this is that even though we are kind of inducing these braking forces by pulling in different directions, we don't get this super straight line between them, which is really nice, right? Like we're pulling between these pieces here, and some of this pink is going to stay stuck to this, and some of this green is going to be stuck from over here. So it's like it's this really nice braking force that kind of keeps these pieces separate, right? And so oh, right, this is actually coloring. So if I turn that off, that's weird. Why are they black? Huh. Let me just do this. Can I just have a color just to make them all back to white? There we go. Cool. That's weird. I guess black's the default. So anyways, so here you can see, obviously we're getting these kind of very, just sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of distinct pieces without having these really sharp lines between them. So it's really nice from that standpoint. Now, what you might be thinking about is surfacing that, and certainly that can be a bit of a concern, right? And there's ways that you might want to go about doing that and making that work, but that's not really what I'm going to go into here. Your best bet probably is to use some sort of a more fluid surface type method. You'll probably want a little bit more particle count than this, unless you're doing something that's very particular in nature, like soil or dirt or snow or something like that. You can certainly keep it as particles and render it that way. But if you're doing something maybe that you wanted to have a better surface on it, doing it as like a you might take the the initial state of the simulation before it moves and transfer all of your UVs over to that, and then as that kind of deforms and stuff like that, you've got that rest position to copy the UVs over from. So that would maybe be a good way of doing that as far as the actual, like if you're going to UV something. But so hopefully this is making some sense as far as how this is working here and what we're sort of getting out of this. We're getting these different pieces out that we're able to kind of pull apart in different ways based on just velocity, right? Like we're just literally sourcing different velocities into this. And if we push our velocities around a little bit more here, well, we could do this too. We could give double some of those and even make this more, we could change the seed of it, I guess. We could give it a global seed that's different. And if we do that, we're going to get sort of a different results here. So let's see. Do name. What happened here? There we go. Weird. Here you can see now we've got a couple that are really getting thrown out there, right? So we really kind of blasted it in some crazy directions, but we get this really nice like clumping behavior and all of these things here. So we're still keeping some of these chunks. Kaboom. Hi, Tom. Yes, kaboom indeed. Poor pig, never had a chance. But yeah, you can see that we've got some nice, fracturing of this, even though we're keeping keeping some of these pieces together just based on the forces and stuff like that being not overcoming that separation parameter. So I need to up my cache apparently for this because I wasn't thinking about that. So let's do that. And maybe that's a little too much. Maybe we'll just kind of bring this down a little bit more. We'll do 2.5. We won't go quite so crazy. And then let's take this up even a little bit further. Let's try to do like let's do like, I don't know. No, that's too much. Let's do like 0.3. And you should see that this is going to stay together a lot more than it did before. So now only in a couple key spots does it even really break apart, right? We only have a couple pieces that have really broken apart here. So it's a really, these critical compression and critical stretch don't really feel like they have that. It's a little bit of a mysterious slider and selection and stuff like that. But oh, that's a great question. Carlos is just asking if from the Hubble Space Telescope was in the reel when it was broken apart, was it broken into separate pieces and then simmed, or was it like how was that simulated? So I'm pretty sure with that it didn't have separate pieces per se, at least that I know of. Now what you could do is you could take these pieces and give them each different strengths, right? And that would give you some variation in how they would break apart, right? Some of them would stay clumped together. Some would break apart more. I don't think, let me actually take a look at that. It's kind of an interesting question. I'm not sure about that. Let's see. Houdini 20.5. Sneak peek. Oh, I always write it the wrong way. I can spell. There it is. Let's see here. The sneak peek. What do we think? This is the question. Well, I'm pretty sure that this model was already in separate pieces. Like it wasn't all like one monolithic mesh. But I don't think that it inherently was like had to be pre-fractured too much. Maybe it was a little bit. It's hard for me to say exactly on that, but it could have been. It definitely would have been something very similar to this. And I actually had an idea to go in a second that I want to get to with it. But I don't think he might have done anything too crazy with it. I think he maybe could have given some variation or noise to some of the, across some of the pieces or whatever. But I don't think there was like a ton of like pre-processing of that geometry that he would have done. Maybe he did this much to it, but I don't even know if he would have. So it seems like more just a radial force, and certainly that could be done here as well, and would get some fracturing, right? If I had, let's see here, let's see, what if I, instead of doing it this way, let's just try something a little different. So let's do this. Let's do a switch here, and we will throw this maybe like this, and we've got this guy come down here. Okay, so we'll just throw this in to the NPM source itself, and I'll just do a little bit of something over here with it maybe. So this is just coming in. It's not going to be fractured at all, and then we're going to go into the Carlos was just saying, could that be a combination of RBDs with MPM to get details only at the separation area? It could be. It could be. I don't think that's what he did with it, though. I really don't, because if you look at it closely, I'm pretty sure it's like actually like a ton of little tiny particles, I'm pretty sure. And so I don't think that it was done that way. Could have been, but I don't think so. I don't know. I guess I'll have to ask Alex on that. I'm not sure. I don't actually know. Tom might know better because he's actually somebody that's in the office, but I'm guessing he was doing his own thing and probably didn't. I don't think Tom had much to do on that one. But yeah, I guess now I'm looking at it, I don't know. I'm kind of like second guessing myself, but I don't think it was I think most of what he did was pretty uniquely that. Actually, too bad. I thought it was in here. Metal tearing. Let's just see what he did here. Oh, that's right. Alex isn't in the office. That's right. Woe is me. So for this, yeah, for like a tearing kind of thing like this, he's just literally using. Don't look at. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's interesting. Carlos, yeah. Oh my gosh. Sorry. It looks like I have a jeez. Give me a second. Sorry about that, folks. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. Don't have to do this very often, so thankfully. All right. There we go. Well, Erebus9, if you are actually a person and just were spamming, you're just in a little timeout. But you'll be back next stream. But anyways, so let's see here. Sorry, where was I? Let's get my stuff back up here. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, so we were talking about this. This is the tearing simulation thing. It's probably really slow because it's metal. And so that's obviously very solid. I think these are just going to pull apart. Cool. All right. So I'm pretty sure he did all of those things with all MPM, like the building and stuff, like the building collapse was all MPM, things like that. So that would be my guess. But yeah, I'll have to ask him. That's a good question. Okay. So here, what I was thinking was instead of doing it that way, we could just do a, let's just maybe grab a sphere of polygons, put that into polygon mode, something like this, and just get a little, let's see here. Just going to move this up. Got our MPM source here, and I'm just going to apply the velocity. Let's see here. We'll just do, yeah, of course. I'm really curious now. Hopefully, I think Alex should be at that, and I'll have to ask him. Pretty sure it was all MPM. What's the easiest way to do this? Can I just do it with a normal? Can I rename that? I can't remember. Yeah, there we go. Hey, Zach, how's it going? Let's see here. Yes, we're gonna put this on points, and we're gonna call it V. There we go. Okay, so we're just gonna get some outward velocity, and then we'll do an attribute transfer here and here. And let's just make sure that that's transferring across. Looks like it is. And we'll just move this upwards here, like so. And just get that. And then I think what I could actually do here is do an attribute create, or wait a second. Okay. I'll just make sure that there's, I think if there's a V attribute on this float vector, that should be good. And then I should be able to make some smaller amounts like that, I think. Yeah. And let's just, okay. Okay, something like that maybe. Let's just see how this works. And should be able to, back here, display them as spheres. We'll turn this off. Let's just see what happens here. Oh no. Did I not have enough velocity? Oh, must not have had enough velocity. That's right. Let's do this. Just vector, and we'll just length only v. We'll multiply. Give it a little multiplication. Maybe we'll do 3, something like that. Oh, right. I wasn't thinking about that. It's backwards. It's backwards. I need it to go the other way. It's pushing inwards. All right. Maybe not. Maybe I'm losing my mind here. There we go. Okay. That's too much. Man, I didn't think you'd have to push it so far to get good values there. Okay. Let's do 20. Oh, it's so gruesome. So obviously we can break it apart like this with custom forces. Oh, it's so gross. Sorry. Oh God. Oh, that's a little messed up. Looks a little gross. Okay, anyways. So you can do that as well. You can have these values wherever you want them, right? And we could let's see, let's move this up like so. Make the sphere a little smaller. There we go. That's probably what I was running into a little bit. Wanted that a little smaller. Okay, so let's turn that off and just see what happens here. Too small, maybe? It's horrible. Anyways, okay, enough of that. Enough of this craziness. Oh, the poor pig. I think I said that there's gonna be some abuse here, I think, and there's no getting around it. Anyways, okay. So that whole craziness, we'll just let that be. That was a little much. Okay, so instead of doing that, what I was kind of thinking might be interesting would be putting the this original geometry here that we kind of have broken up, like this here, having that, instead of that being the main thing that's like driving the separation, let's actually put in some weaker material between those chunks and kind of see what we can get into with that. That was kind of another idea I was having. So let's try that out. In fact, so this is just a really standard, and I'll just put this in a totally different geometry network. So we'll just make a copy of this, throw it over there. Let's turn off V, keep just name on. Just see what happens here. Oh boy, I messed something up here. What did I mess up? Oh, I know what it is. I had changed the critical stretch. That might have been why I was having a really hard time deforming in there. That makes a lot more sense. Right. Got to visualize the actual solver. There we go. Cool. Okay, so let's leave this. We'll leave this as it is, and then we'll say weak. Let's call this weak, like inner. I don't know, whatever. We'll call it that. And so what I was thinking you could do here would be take this geometry and we'll turn this into one whole chunk. So let's do that. So this is going to be our whole piece. We'll do an VDB from polygons. And let's turn this down just a little bit. Maybe like, I don't know. We'll do 2.5. Cool. All right, that looks pretty good. And so this will be our surface for this source. I think it can pull that through. Yep, there we go. Perfect. We don't need to transfer any attributes, I don't think. And what we'll do is we'll call this we'll just call this rigid. We'll call this rigid, and then we'll make another one. I think we'll be able to do this. Let's just double. Oops. Bring that down. There we go. Okay. So let's take this. I think we have edges here, right? Inside. Yep. So let's take this geometry and we'll pull this out, and let's blast the insides. Delete non-selected. Okay, those are all the inside faces now. So that's good. That's what we want. And let's do a labs thicken here, because I know that'll give us a nice little bit of geometry to work with. Now, that might be a little too much. Let's just see here. Yeah, something like that maybe. It's kind of interesting. And then if we do a copy of this, right? Reference copy. We'll make another one of these. Throw this over here. Oh, right. We actually have to subtract that from it. But first of all, let's just call this maybe soft. And this we need to actually subtract. So let's do that. So let's do an SDF subtract. I'll just merge these together out of curiosity. What is the source name on that? Interesting. Why is that not? Okay, let's do. Well, that's not super helpful. Let's change this from text. No, let's change it from marker to color. There we go. Okay. That's actually pretty good. Doesn't look too bad. I mean, maybe they're overlapping a little bit, but doesn't seem to be too bad. All right, let's try that first, see what happens here. So we don't have any velocity here, so let's just see kind of what happens here with this. We don't have any what's the word? We don't have any differences between these two right now, but that's okay. Let's take this from the source name and color randomly. Yeah, that looks pretty good, actually. Cool. That's awesome. So now we could set these up to be totally different materials if we wanted to and have them do some crazy stuff. Zero goes away. All right, so there's that, right? So we have it just breaking as is, but what if we turn this soft one, the stiffness, back down to say 5? Let's just start with that, right? So now if we do this, we should have, yep. Some pretty weird breaking thresholds and stuff like that. And we could even go lower with it, right? We could come down to, we'll just set this back to default, and go from there. Oops. So this is pretty cool. We can really control this now with just those little bit of adjustments to it. So with just changing some very simple parameters on these two different materials, we can get this this soft fracturing in the gaps there, and have these other pieces kind of stick together a bit more. So yeah, and this is all procedural, right? So if we take this and go, say we go to 4, make some bigger pieces here, or movie Cube. I don't know that movie. I don't know if I want to know that movie. It sounds, I don't know. I don't think this would be a nice movie to watch with things falling apart like this. So it's interesting here, we're getting the separation a bit more because the actual material itself is pulling apart. Let's do this too. Let's set the critical stretch back down. And so that it doesn't need to stretch as far before the thinner stuff breaks. So let's see that. See if that helps us at all here. Little bit. And then maybe what we do as well is thicken this up a little bit. So we can take this and go to maybe 6. Oh, that's crazy. That's really, I'm really impressed with the way that this, the way that the SDF and the MPM sourcing is so, like, it isn't like changing itself at all. It's just like basically just expanding, and it's just pulling more into it. That's really interesting. I mean, I'm doing this not with the actual source, but it must be because it's calculating that on a VD. It must be using the VDB grid to be able to make these particles from it, so that it must just be super stable with that. That's I'm really impressed by that. That's kind of cool. Like, that's so, I don't know, just that's nice. I like it. Anyways, all right, let's see what happens with that if we make that a little thicker there. Yeah, now we're getting some more breakup of these materials here, right? And maybe we even stiffen this up a little bit more. Maybe we go to 50 here instead. That would actually be the next step of the from where we were before, but that's okay. Let's just see kind of what that does and where that gets us. Yep. We can obviously see that it's breaking apart there from those seams and doing its thing. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it's definitely working. Hey, hello, Lucas. Welcome, welcome. So yeah, it's definitely working. We've got a lot of stuff that we can kind of mess around with here and make work however we want. Let's change this again. Maybe we go to 2.5 on that. And now we've got a much more broken up object here. Let's see how that looks, what that does for us. Yeah. Get some interesting stuff going on there. Now the cool thing about this too is because these materials just have different properties to them, basically. They can like touch, they can re-adhere to each other, they can like kind of stick back together and do all those types of things. So we don't really, it's not like, is it together or is it not? Sort of like an explicit constraint would be. These are able to kind of just, because we're dealing with, solving similar to almost the way that like Flip does in some ways. It allows for us to be able to have these things like adhere to each other and pull apart and then re-adhere. And so you've kind of got this like this continuum of material versus something that's either attached or broken, which I think is really nice. It gives a way different look than some of these other materials do, or these other simulations do when they break apart. Yeah, so an interesting thing that would happen there. I think that's a really good question. So Lucas is asking, he's curious if we animated the pig head to headbang and then hold the blue grains within, but let the green release with inherited velocity. So that was actually the next thing I wanted to play around with a little bit, was what does it look like if we have these pieces animated. So that would require a little bit of a different setup. Now we could actually maybe there's a different way to do that here actually. So so we have this and we have this. Now, what if instead we did a transform here? Okay, let's try that. Let's do a sine of $T. I don't know, multiply that by 4, I guess. And then we'll multiply this times 60 degrees. Let's try that, see how that works. Just out of curiosity what that looks like time-wise. Oh, that's way too slow. Guess I meant to do F here. Yeah, there we go. Let's go a little faster than that. Let's do 6 and see how that works. Hello. Lots of ideas here. I like this. All right, so if we do that, that should work. And then let's see here. Interesting. I wonder if Thanks. Thanks, Tom. I'm guessing that this would only work with. Well, let me just try this real quick. Pull this out, throw that in there. There we go, rigid. And then we'll do this from volume. Yeah, okay. That is working. I did not think that that would be the case. Maybe, just maybe. Let's pull this out for a second. Maybe we could do this. Let's see. What if I transformed it here? Would that do it? Oh. Let's see. This do it? Visualize. Oh, shoot. Actually need to do this F-1 so it stays in the same spot when I first start. Okay, there we go. So those are pinned. Well, I'm curious if this will work. So what I've done here is this is turning on some attributes, I think. Pin to animation and what's the other one? There's got to be another one here. It says, okay, we don't need to use that. We can just do, let's see. I don't know what the difference is there. Okay, let's try that. Yes, I would normally want to. But okay, this is definitely working. So let's see. So the reason that I didn't do that transform before the source is because it does not like the idea of, here, I'll show you what it was saying basically. Well, now it does like it. That's really weird. Oh, maybe it was because of this. Hold on. Oh, that's crazy. So it did not like the fact that the VDB grid was rotated slightly here. So if you look at it this way, before I subtracted frame 1 from it, let's do that. See how it's rotated? It doesn't like that. The transform must have uniform scale for the level set tracker to function. So it just didn't like that it was like transformed a little bit when it was first coming in. And now it's like, oh, cool, it's transformed, no problem. Which is really funny. But that seems to be the case there. So Yes, you could do it before that. It looks like it works either way, but yeah, that should work. Also, why does this have a time dependency? Oh, it has a time dependency because it turns itself off after frame 1. That's right. There we go. Okay, anyways. So we have this. Let's look at the color here. Interesting. Okay. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not working. I thought it might be. Nope. I guess not. I guess that doesn't work. Huh. Weird. It doesn't like it to be a transformation of the VDB. That's interesting. I would think that it would work if it was just a regular geometry. But anyways, this will work here because we've already now set that these are going to be pinned. We've we don't need to use that. We know that these points are going to be pinned in place, so it's got an attribute for that. And then we come down here. Okay, cool. I'm just learning things here. We got to do that to enable the animation. What is that setting? That's the only thing I'm not sure what that's setting. Pin to animation. Yeah, I'm not sure what that changes. That's fine. Anyways, okay, so let's try to turn down the let's try to turn down the material setup for this in between stuff here so that it actually does, because it's like it's not quite flinging around enough. So maybe if we did this, like 16, really gave it a little something. See what happens there. Yeah, now we're like slinging that material out of its little gaps there. Obviously, this is a pretty low resolution simulation. If we wanted to do something, I think we could change it here, right? We could change this to be interesting. I forgot that this bounds was even a thing. So let's do this. Yeah, that's fine. Oh wow, that really changed the time that this has taken. Holy cow, that's really something. Huh? Did I do something really? Oh, hello. Did I do something really stupid there? Let me see. Are the substeps just going super high? That could be what it is. I think it's because I have a solid, these pieces are solid, and I'm pretty sure that that's pushing up the substep count really high. Let me see. Could be completely wrong, but give it a second. Okay. It's got to be that. So let's go back. Let's set this. Doesn't really matter what that's set to because those are going to be pinned in place anyways. So let's see. There we go. There's all our stuff flying out of it. Kind of interesting. Now, if I just do this. Okay. Interesting. Is that hitting some sort of limit on my GPU or something? Huh. That is really strange that it just that little bit is causing an issue. Let's do 5, 5, and something like that. Does it say how many? No, it does not. Okay, let's try that out. Strange. I'm not sure why that's doing that. Doesn't really seem like that little change should do all that much, but oh. There's some weird velocity thing going on there. Interesting. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah, that must be it. Let's see here. Let's see. Closed. 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 And Y plus closed. So that closes pretty much everything in this box. Oh, I could just do... I'm so stupid. Could have just closed them all. With this right here. All. Closed. Okay. Anyways, not sure exactly what that was all about, but there we are. Throwing some some particles around. Cool. And I bet you now we could go down even lower, I bet. Maybe? Anyways, not worth going into that right now. Not sure why it's doing that. But anyways, let's do this. 175 was fine. Cool. And if you want to change that, well, I'll just color some stuff here so you know what to do. So take that out. And so if we take this out, it won't be doing that. And then this you'll have to change as well. Turn off the pinned constraints. And then it should go back to the way we had it before. Although now this is back to being very soft. So let's do 50 again there. And that should now stay a little bit closer to what it was. Okay. Anyways, the one thing that I wanted to play around with as well here would be was playing around with actually animating these pieces in a different way than just kind of like a simple turn or something like that. But like, what if we wanted to, actually pull them apart in some way? So we could do that a couple of different ways, I guess. Yeah, maybe we should do a little like RBD type simulation here and see what we can get into with that. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds kind of fun. Let me just turn this back down so it's not quite so slow. Alexander was telling me, he's like, a lot of people think that MPM should be like super, super fast because it's on the GPU. He's like, it's just a little faster than regular MPM is really what it is, because it's faster than regular MPM because regular MPM is like super, super slow and people hate it. And so he's like, so it's not like it's fast compared to other things. It's just fast compared to MPM. So I kind of thought that was a little funny, where he's like, it's not the fastest thing in the world. Don't hate me for, it taking a little longer. All right, so let's do this. Let's say, all right, let's try this. So what I'm thinking we could do is we could take this Voronoi fracture. Let's keep these. Let's turn this back to whatever. Get rid of this transform, rigid, and our soft. Here, like that. Okay, cool. So let's do this. Let's take our, we won't need these. We might need this. This might still work. All right, let's take our Voronoi fracture and our points here. Let's make this a little bigger so we've got bigger chunks. Turn that on. There we go. Just trying to think of if there's any easy way to do it. I'm trying to think of. All right, so we've got these fractures and we've got this thick interior to subtract from them. All right, let's do a for each named primitive. should be able to do, hopefully, is Boolean subtract. Kind of do the same thing, and let's do an let's see, can I do a let's do a block begin here. Do it like that, and we'll say fetch input. That's the input each time. I'm just going to bring this over here so we can make a little more sense out of it. If we subtract that, how does that work? The edges, it's a little funky. Let's see, could we do a peek on this? Would that work? Just a little bit. Oh, baby, that was not visualizing that. Let's bring it out a little bit. All right, let's just do this. Let's do VDB from polygons. Get rid of this. Do that there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Like so. Let's do VDB convert. Bring that back to polys. We might need to expand that a little bit, but let's see if that'll work. Let's up the adaptivity a little bit. I don't know, just guessing. These don't really need to be the cleanest polygons in the world, I don't think. Let's see. All right, so let's just do this. Let's take this and we'll actually keep that peak in there. And like that. Okay. Okay. Get something. Oh, that was a really stupid thing to do, actually, what I just did there. This should come out of here. Let's go back here. So that was really dumb because what I should do is put this in front of this here because there's no reason to do that every single time. That's just stupid. So let's do that. There's our input. There's our Boolean fracture. There we go. Okay. We got pieces here. Maybe a little too thick. So let's do this. Let's change this to, okay. The other thing I'm going to try is it only a Boolean? Can I... Yep, I think I can. Okay, I'm going to try putting this in a compile block. See if that helps us at all here. Okay. Compile block. Okay, that's funny. And then we also need compile. Oops. Okay. And that should be, I think. All right. So we'll multi-thread that when it's compiled. Does that work? Hey, look at that. That's faster. That's nice. I like that. Can we not have that error though, please? Wow, that's cool. I don't know, those errors shouldn't be there, but that's okay. We're fine. Let's try this down to 3. Did that do something? Wow, that's great. That's so much faster. Cool. Hey, sorry, getting a little caught over here. Welcome, Gerso, to the stream. Welcome. Okay, so we've got pieces with little stuff in between. Maybe we'll do 0.3. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so let's take and assemble. Yep. Create packed primitives from it. Okay, and then if we took, let's do an RBD solver from that with a ground plane. Great. And then, oops, let's take this up. So I'm kind of stick this in between here. Let's just rearrange this a little. Okay, so we're going to cut this, put this in here, slide this over like so, and then, okay. All right, I think we're looking okay here. Let's come down here. Oh, interesting. Oh, you know what I should do? I should just take this. That's what I should do. Like so. That actually makes more sense because that is the geometry that we're cutting it with. So let's do that. And we have our animation here, right? Pin constraints. We're going to initialize this pin, enable animation, use input animation. think let's give that a shot. See how that goes. Oh, that's going to be slow. Going to be very slow. I'm just going to hit stop for 1 second here. Just want to see if there's like a crazy amount of substeps. Not the fewest substeps in the world. All right, so let's do this. Let's just reduce this a little bit to like 5 like it was before. See if that helps us out at all. I should probably cache that, but that's okay. We'll be fine. I'm just curious what this is going to do when it hits and breaks and stuff like that. Oh, the other thing, actually, now that I'm... While we wait, yes. No, that's an interesting... it's an interesting question, Graham. Sorry, I'm just making sure that this... Whoa. That's kind of crazy. Let's see. Oh. Something went crazy there. Yeah, it doesn't like that. Okay. So we do probably want this use input animation. And we'll just go from there. See what happens. So Graham, yeah, your question was, what's the latest technique on the tearing UV textured skin surfaces along with the guts kabooming? So the way that you would keep the surface textured properly, as it's getting torn and stuff like that, would be to take the, you have to obviously project the UV into the particles when you first do it, and then you want to take that as just a static, and then I think you want to copy those back onto the particles, I think, and then have that transfer into the actually I haven't really looked into that much. One of our interns was actually talking with Alexander, and he gave him like a really good like walkthrough on how to keep the UVs as you're remeshing it. So I'd have to look and see if I could find that actually. You know what? I might be able to pull that up. Just give me 1 second. I might be able to take a look at that. So just give me a second here. While this is going. Da, 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 da. Have to be very careful when typing in passwords when I have a key thing on. Let's see here. Where was that? All right, I'm curious what this is doing now. So let's take a look at this real quick while I'm pulling up these files. No. You're great. No problem at all. That's I don't did not derail at all. What's going on here? Okay, that's weird. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Like, it looks like it's definitely coming through. So let's just visualize that to make sure that we are actually getting our RBD sim matched. I think we are. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty crazy. That's fun. Obviously, you could make that intermediary material a bit thicker in that case, but this is a way that you could drive certain parts of it and have it, have it actually work like that. So this is sort of what Crossfader was talking about a little bit there. Now, the problem with this, from what I'm seeing here, is that it definitely takes a while to simulate. And I think, let me just revert this to the defaults. What was it at? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it takes a while regardless. It's kind of interesting. And I think the reason for that is that it has to re-look up those particle positions at every frame, right? So it can't just take it kind of one time and then let it go through the solver. So I think this is what's happening, is that it's actually having to go back and forth between the CPU and GPU, I think, because this is sort of, I think, the idea of what Alexander had said when he was talking about using Vex in the MPM solver, is that if you're doing a lot of stuff, I think, in there with particles and things like that, with with Vex or something like that, it's having to copy that data back and forth from the GPU to the CPU and then, back again every frame. And I'm guessing that is what's happening here. Not 100% sure, but let's see here. Can I open this? Let's see. Okay, we'll open up another session here, and I'll see if I can find that UV space thing, because I think it's in here. Yeah. I know. Cool. I won't share what our intern is doing, because he is going to share that hopefully with everybody, and it'll be a really cool course. So I don't want to steal his thunder, but I do know that little tool's in there, so I'll look at that and just double check it from there. But yeah, this is cool. This is definitely working. It's super slow comparatively, which is kind of a bummer, because it would be nice if it was like a little faster or whatnot. But it certainly is. These pieces obviously are staying together. They're following their original source pieces here and stuff like that. So we're definitely getting some, it's really following pretty closely to that. And maybe if we set up the what do you call it? Okay. Thank you. All right. I will just move this over here. Okay. Let me see if I can find this. Give me a second, and I will be right back here. Thank you. Yeah, I think really what the technique is just it's just basically keeping the UVs. Yeah, what he's basically doing is doing what Alexander had suggested was VDB from particles, then just doing, you know, the standard VDB reshaping type stuff, converting that to a mesh, and then in another path, basically time shifting your fluid or whatever the material is, and just, you know, time shifting that to the first frame, UV texturing it, and then passing that back over to your animated particles, and then attribute transferring that back onto the mesh. But you could do that in the particle surface tool as well. There's a bunch of different ways. It's actually saying that here, that there's many other methods to do that, basically. So that was just what he had suggested, and it seems to work pretty well. Let me see if I can't do that maybe in another one of these here. So I'm just going to leave this one. And we'll leave this one as well, I think. What was this one again? Can't remember. This was the one with the... Yeah. So I'll just leave that, and then we'll come back over here to this guy. Yep. And let's see if we can't transfer that over. I'm actually kind of wondering if... the UV, isn't the UV already on here? Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, let's see. So, I mean, technically, if we do attribute, I always do that the other way, attribute from map. If we do it this way and pull up the UV. Yeah, I mean, technically the UV map is there already on this one, so that's kind of cool. And if we pull that across, yeah, I mean, technically it's already there. So, I mean, if you just did a, well, let's do this. Let's turn the container size down a little bit just to get maybe a little bit clearer UVs. There we go. Cool. Yep. All right. Maybe a little too small. Let's do 175. And then I think if we, I mean, honestly, I think if you just particle fluid surface this, it would work. It would have the UVs on it. So let's see. I mean, obviously that's, we'll copy this parameter, paste relative references. Yeah, I mean, man, it's been a long time since I've done any real good fluid stuff here, but let's just say I don't know, whatever. Maybe you just do this. And I think if you took this and said UV, we'd have a UV attribute on that. Now it is a little funky. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be great, but you could do something like that and probably get away with it. But yeah, the other option was basically just doing a more manual approach to it, right? Like using taking your particles, doing a time shift where we freeze. All right, I don't have that in there. Delete the channels on that, and doing your VDB from particles. And let's see here, voxel size. That should probably be set to that, right? Where do we do this? There we go. Maybe that. And then let's see. I don't know. Maybe that. Curious what he's using here. Reshape. Dilate. Erode. Yeah, so it's just it's just that. And then an erode. That's a mean. Second order he recommended. Like that maybe. And then polygons. Cool. And then this over here would basically just be your time shift. Although you don't really need to do this in this case because we already have UVs on this. So what you could just do is, I think, attribute transfer. We'll do this in the first one. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna move these around. Bring this over here. Okay, so we did that, and then we just attribute transfer onto it like that. And all we'll do is pull. No, it's gonna be on the points. That's right, points, and we'll just grab the UV. Yeah, I guess that's not really going to matter too much there. And then that should, let's see here. It's pretty funky looking, but there you go. Got this thing blasting itself apart, I guess. the UVs do stick pretty well, actually. It's not perfect, but, you know, if you needed it to work, that could work. And certainly the hello? There we go. Certainly the more particles you have in this, the better this is going to look, you know, with your surfacing and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different stuff that you could do here to kind of make it work the way you want it to, right? But yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, that was something that Alexander had shown to us. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful to all you out there. But I'll just put this in a little box so we know what this is here. If you want to take a look at this later, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. If you don't have UVs from your geometry coming in up above, which is very common, I guess, in that case, you would want to do the freezing it from the first frame, making a UV attribute copying that over to your moving mesh, and then attribute transferring it. So that would be where that would be more beneficial for you. I'm certainly not a meshing expert or anything like that. It's been a while since I've done any fluid stuff or anything like that, but this is just a suggestion on how to do it. And I might actually be going a little bit too heavy with some of these things here. Like maybe that's better. Maybe this, you know, maybe it's here. I don't know. Maybe it's like 1.5. Sounds like the Spider-Man pointing me. Well, sort of. I mean, basically what you would do instead you would do a time shift, right? You take your time shift from your, let go of that. Get out of there. There we go. You take the time shift from this, stop it at the first frame. So we delete the channels, go frame 1. Then you would do a you would do a UV projector, whatever it would be, to do your UVs. And then you would do a copy, or no, attribute copy. And that would go like this. And then you'd feed that into your attribute transfer, right? So in this case, this would be points. Exactly. Yes, that's why we love it. This should be, let's see here. Oh, that's copying CD. That's why we want to copy UV. And then, yeah, so this would be some crazy, you know, UV space type thing. Let's see. Get these out of the way. Over here. So this would basically be the idea for that. You can see that the projection's all screwed up here, but yeah, it would this is just projecting it like that. I mean, if we did it, maybe polar, whatever. I don't know what would be a more reasonable thing here. Maybe cylindrical, you know, something like that. You could have your own, whatever your actual projection would be, and then it would follow that as well. But this is sort of unnecessary here because it already has UVs. So just something to keep in mind. Actually, Alexander had this up to 100, but and this at 10, but that seems seems overkill actually, and seems to actually make it slightly worse. Oh, it must be seeing the seams in the UVs. That's what we're seeing there. Doing UVs over simulations. Whoa. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. I mean, like, it's definitely really hard with anything like that has reseeding in it, where you have like flip or something like that. Very difficult because you almost have to have that like dual rest field thing. I mean, it's certainly not my expertise, but it'd be interesting if I see something that's really good with that. I might have to do that, but pre-make the sims, of course. Yeah, sure. All right. Well, I think that's going to be maybe about where we wrap this thing up for the evening. Let's see. I'll just say idea for UVing mesh. UVing MPM. And do with that what you will. And definitely keep an eye out for our interns course on the MPM stuff, because he should be able to go into that a lot better than I can, because he's actually talked to Alexander about that specific technique. So I'm just kind of looking over his shoulder and scribbling notes, kind of a thing. So yeah, this is the quick version. Oh yeah, cops. That's, yeah, I keep meaning to get into that, but I've been so busy doing some other very I'm documenting a lot of stuff right now for work, so I haven't been able to dive into cops super heavily, so I really want to. But yeah, that's that would be really cool. See some cops interactions and things like that. Well, cool. I think that's where we are going to kind of wrap the stream up for the evening. I obviously appreciate all the chat and getting to talk to y'all and hear your ideas and thoughts and stuff like that. I'll throw this file up online in a little bit, so you can all play around with it if you'd like to. As always, feel free to join the Discord. There is a link that should be popping up at some point. Maybe not. Hello, web link. There it is. There's probably gonna be another one coming. Anyways, so HoudiniHangout.com, you can get a Discord invite and join the Discord server from there. And also on the Discord server is a channel that has a link to all of the stream files and things like that. So if you want to pick them up and play around with them, go back and see, hey, why did you do that or whatever, feel free. Yeah, if you're having trouble with any of that stuff or run into something from an old stream or from whatever, drop it in the Discord server and we can try to figure out what the heck is going on. But like I said, that'll wrap us up for the evening. Thank you all for being here and for chatting. And yeah, we will be back at it next week. If you have any suggestions for future streams, do that on the Discord. There's a suggestions channel there. And yeah, be looking out for that and looking forward to chatting with you all next time. So thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.